Hello and welcome everyone to the Wednesday, May 14th, America's edition of the SIG Contributor Experience meeting. At the beginning of the meeting here, first off, a reminder, every meeting in the open source Kubernetes community operates under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. At the beginning of the meeting here, we like to offer an opportunity for anyone on the call to introduce themselves, and I use it as an excuse to explain what the meeting's about. So I will go first. This is totally optional. Hello, everyone. I'm Caslin Fields, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience. This meeting is at the SIG scope. So what we usually do in this meeting is we go through the various sub-projects within the special interest group to see if there's any updates on what's going on in those sub-projects, if they need any help, if there are things that we need to discuss, issues that we need to address, all of that kind of stuff. So we'll see what we can do with that today. Not many of our usual folks are on, so I may just kind of run through what I know, and we'll see where it goes. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Totally optional.
Yeah, well, why not? I'm Ludo. I'm a software engineer from the Netherlands. And for years, I wanted to get started on open source software. And then I came across Electo, which is part of the SIG. So here I am. I hope I'll have a good time, and otherwise I'll disappear over time. But so far, it's fun.
That's how it goes. You got it. Having a realistic view of what it's going to be like is important. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Totally optional. I'll leave it open.
Hello, I am Prashant. I am one of the contributors of Harbor, container registry under the CNCF, and I'm looking forward to contribute to Kubernetes. And I just would like to get an overview, more like an eagle-eye view of other projects and how contributor experience operates. I am one of the mentors for the LFX program. So I mentor students, and then I am also one of the mentees there. So I started as a mentee and then graduated to be a mentor now, helping others. So I just, okay, why not just stick with one project, but also try to do this with other projects that might interest me. So I'm just here to yeah.
Wonderful. Love to hear it. I love it when other folks from other projects within the CNCF or even the larger open source community pop into Kubernetes things. We are very proud of the community that we've built, so glad to have you.
Yep.
Wonderful. So I would also normally ask for a volunteer note taker. The role of the note taker is to follow along with the discussion and take notes as best they can so that if someone missed the meeting and wants to catch up via notes, they can. I will probably just take my own notes today. But if anyone particularly wants to, let me know. And I think we've been over all of the housekeeping items. So normally at this point, we would dive into updates from all of the sub-projects. So I could go ahead and go through that. Prasant, since you're new to the community and they're looking for an overview, one thing to recommend that Ludo and I were talking about before we started recording is the new contributor orientation. So once a month, we run a new contributor orientation session where we go over how the community is structured and how to get involved with the work that we do. So I could always run over that content if we want to do that, though I need to leave at the bottom of the hour instead of taking up the full hour today. So we only have 18 minutes left, but that is an option. Or I could go ahead and go through the what updates I know from each of the sub projects. So I think I'll start there, and if we have time, go into the new contributor orientation stuff. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds really good. And I do already have watched some of the recordings of contributor orientation. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for watching them. I really need to check out the viewership on those, see how they're doing. We were just talking also before we started recording about how those meetings are doing. When they first started off, they got pretty good number of attendees, but it's really dropped off over time. So we've been discussing in the comms meeting. Comms is a sub-project of this group, and most of the folks there are involved with the new contributor orientation, even though it's not really, it's kind of a comms thing, sort of. But we were discussing it in the last comms meeting, how we could better do comms to make sure that folks know about those meetings. We're planning to set up a good first issue for the meeting so that when folks look for good first issues, they find information about new contributor orientation. And then we're discussing a couple other routes as well. So that's an update from comms. NCO. Evangelism. I'm just going to use that word for now. For other stuff, I'm going to quickly run through the things in our agenda. I guess in the comms meetings, I share my screen. In these meetings, I usually don't. Depends on what people like. I'm down to do whatever. So I'm going to share my screen today. I want to share this one. Cool. So starting with events. So this team, hello, Mario. I didn't expect you to be on.
Hi.
It's a pretty small meeting today. We'll see. And I need to leave at the bottom of the hour. So you could continue the meeting if you want after I leave. But we have a couple new folks on. And both have actually checked out new contributor orientation. So probably don't need to go over new contributor orientation stuff. Mario's the other host of new contributor orientation. He does the EMEA and APAC friendly edition. I'm making you a co-host because I can. So we were about to talk about events, and I was going to give the whole context of this group has traditionally run the Kubernetes contributor summits, which are in-person events that happen alongside KubeCons, mainly just the larger KubeCons, North America and EU. India is brand new as of December. They actually had a small maintainer summit, maintainer summit thing. I'll get to that in a second. And then Japan is new this year. I don't know if they're planning to do anything actually. But Kubernetes contributor summits have transitioned into maintainer summits. The difference is that Kubernetes contributor summits were just for Kubernetes contributors, and a lot of the lift of planning and executing them was on the community. We would form a volunteer team and we would have leads of different areas and things like that. But now it has shifted to a maintainer summit at the CNCF level. So the CNCF has taken on more of the management of putting that summit together. And that's still an in-person event at KubeCons. And it also is open to more than just the Kubernetes community. It's open to other projects within the CNCF as well. And Mario is one of the leads of the maintainer summit. So if you want to give any updates on where we're at with planning maintainer summit stuff for the rest of the year, you could do so. You could also say, I don't want to do that.
Sorry, can you repeat? I was lost.
Do you want to talk about maintainer summit stuff? Give an update of any kind? You're also welcome to say no.
next week Tuesday is the call for paper opening for Maintainer Summit North America. It's either 17th or 19th, I'm not sure.
Opens 17th or 19th.
So I think it's the 19th. So Saturday is the 17th, Sunday is the 18th, and it's opening on Monday.
Good to know. And so there are definitely plans to have one in North America. India is in August. Japan is in June. Do you know anything about plans for those?
I'm not involved in any of them. The only thing that I saw is that there was a repository created in the CNCF or
for India, right?
Maintainer Summit, for Maintainer Summit in general, and with some things in India referencing.
Yeah, I know a lot of the folks involved with KubeCon India really want to have a Maintainer Summit there, but we'll see if the CNCF is able to run one. Good to know. So I guess we'll move on to mentoring. I think you had something else. Oh, you wanted to talk about the program committee stuff that's happening with Maintainer Summit.
There
That
will
was
be
for
a
the...
change. We will only have one program committee for everything. There won't be a Kubernetes special program committee. The call for participation in this, or the how this will be resolved, we will have a chat in the future, so we will just get back. This was basically the decision. This was the decision taken by all of the 3 chairs. So basically 2 of the chairs are Kubernetes maintainers. So, but we saw that it's not worth the effort. So the effort of the people is just, it's too many people that are spending time on selecting the program.
Gotcha. Running events is a big time commitment, and a lot of folks do it on a volunteer basis, so it is what it is. Moving on to mentoring. So updates in the mentoring world. So Josh Burkus has been kind of bumping mentoring along for a number of years. There was a time when we had more contributors involved with our mentoring sub-project. It was more active. Things that fall under the mentoring sub-project include internal Kubernetes contributor run group mentoring cohorts, which are generally a program to help train existing contributors into leadership roles within the SIGs. And then there's also the external mentoring programs that Kubernetes works with. We talked about some of them a little bit earlier. LFX is a big one, and the deadline for submitting LFX mentorship projects was yesterday. So we had a bit of a conversation about that in the chairs meeting yesterday. Right now, we really would like some help with kind of program management of the mentoring programs that Kubernetes is involved with. We could really use some help keeping track of all of the deadlines for all of the different programs and making sure that SIG leads know about them, and being able to answer questions for them about who they ask or where they go if they have any questions about what kinds of projects would be good. Kind of generally making sure that the community is on top of mentoring stuff. We don't have anyone with capacity to do that right now. So if you know anyone who's interested in program management and wants to help us with mentoring, we could use the help. That's the status I know for mentoring. Any questions there? Moving on to comms. I already mentioned earlier, we talked a little bit about new contributor orientation and the discussion we had in our last comms meeting about making sure that folks know that new contributor orientation exists, and how we're going to create a good first issue to help folks find it, and still exploring a couple of other different routes too. We had a discussion about it in the SIG ContribEx leads meeting about the banner idea.
For the good first issue and help wanted, I approved the change and accidentally already merged the PR. Because I ignored the hold tag, and I had a chat with Ben, and Ben said, yeah, it's fine.
Oh, that thing? Ben's ask about changing help wanted versus good first issue.
Yeah.
Because those are two concepts within the Kubernetes community that are separate things, and we are making them more clearly separate things. Help wanted could be a request for help that involves specific skills or specific work, like the program management for mentoring, whereas and it may not include any kind of mentoring or guidance. Whereas good first issues are meant to be something that a total beginner could pick up and reasonably complete, maybe with some guidance, or it's just a small enough thing that they could kind of do it themselves, maybe. I don't know. But we're making that the language that we have in our documentation a little bit clearer about those two types of issues. I don't know where to put that. Mentoring? Other
I mean,
GitHub management?
they wanted to have it in our buy, and I think it's GitHub management, because it's mostly disconnecting, help wanted, and good first issue.
Disambiguating. That's a good word for it. Help wanted and good first issue. Lovely. That's good stuff. Not really a comms thing. Is there any other comms stuff that we need to talk about? There's a continuing. What the heck is this? Why is there a header and a footer? Anyway, there's a continuing issue kind of thing with blogging that the comms team is dealing with. So the comms team normally creates a bunch of blogs. Also, we have a evergreen SIG Spotlight blog series project where anyone can come in, interview SIG chairs, and then write up a blog post about what they learned about interviewing that SIG chair about the SIG. But currently, the blogs team is overwhelmed. We do not have enough reviewers for the number of blogs coming in. And so they desperately need to recruit more reviewers before we can continue creating more blogs. So that's something the comms team spends a lot of time talking about. I'll call that
So
out.
when you say reviewing, it's just checking the content, checking if spelling and grammar is on point.
It's more
etc.
complicated than that, unfortunately.
Oh.
So there's the way that the comms team does it, there's 2 rounds of reviews. There's that, where someone just reads through the content. Is it good? Give them feedback on grammar and spelling and those kinds of things, proofreading, basically. And then there's the docs level review. So once you have it in a state that you think is pretty good, you should create a PR to actually add it to the website where it will be displayed. And at that point, the docs team will get involved with reviewing it. They'll give you a publication date, and they have their own rules about the level of quality that they expect and the dates that they're willing to publish things on, like how close together will they publish things and that kind of stuff. So they have their own blog reviewer guidelines and have been trying to set up kind of a training program, but they haven't gotten much traction. Reviewing blogs is not a very shiny job.
No, I can sort of imagine. So it's not about the proofreading part, it's about the getting it out there, the second round.
Yes,
Okay.
it's more about the quality bar, whatever that means to docs, and scheduling. Those are the 2
Okay.
items that I know anyway. And the docs team, like I said, has docs on how they do their blogging stuff. We're very willing for more people to jump in. Anything else that we should mention about comms? Anything come to mind, Mario?
We need to the etcd stuff needs to be
Yeah.
done.
I've been
May
talking
5th.
with Josh about it.
Yeah, so this is for May 15th, so which is tomorrow.
So they have. I was looking into if we should post anything about it before May 15th, and I don't think so, since it's a release and we want to be like, yay, the release happened, right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be a blog, so that will auto post on all of our social media. But they're not sure if that's actually going to post on May 15th. And when I asked if there was anything that we could share on May 15th, Josh
It
just
will
went
not
and found the
post.
blog URL. So
I think it will not post automatically because they said they can't get it in Kubernetes IO. They only want to publish it on the etcd blog, right? And I don't
Oh, I
think that
see.
I don't think that we are basically. Yeah, this is etcd website.
Maybe we
This
should
is
add
not
that actually.
this is not IO, and we don't track etcd IO.
Gotcha. So we can set that up then. Need to manually post the blog because it's going to be on the etcd website. We should actually probably have a conversation in our Friday comms meeting about setting up automation for that, since
Yeah.
etcd is part of Kubernetes.
True story.
Then there will be 3 blogs that we automatically post about. And I need to go at the bottom of the hour, so I only have a minute left. Contributor documentation, there's usually not a whole lot there. We could talk about kates.dev a little bit, but I think it's fine if we kind of skip that. Moderation and media, there's also usually not a whole lot. I did get a request this week to check into something on the YouTube channel, which I still haven't checked. I need to do that. GitHub management. We already mentioned the disambiguating help wanted in Gun First issue. And elections. Thank you, Ludo, for volunteering to work on Electo. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. What I understood from Josh is that the test coverage is not very good, to put it in a more politically correct way. There's room for improvement, so I'm working on that right now. And then if we have more certainty that we know that stuff is still working or would break, we can get working on the case insensitivity issue or case sensitivity issue, because I think that's really sort of the feature that like the dot on the horizon to aim for. And then I saw in GitHub that there's like a bunch of other requests, but I would say add tests and then fix the casing, and then I would be very happy. But yeah, first thing I need is reviewing. I think Josh is the reviewer, and Josh is busy, so I'll be patient. So that's that.
Sounds good. That is how it goes in open source. Getting reviews takes the longest because you got to get multiple people involved. Mario?
Mm-hmm.
I think when do we need to start for election
For the cycle.
Yeah, for
That's
chairs.
a good point.
Not chairs, steering.
Yeah, the steering election normally takes place in August. So we are getting close now.
Yeah,
should probably
because we
start
need to have a body, an election body selected. We need to promote it so that people basically apply. So this should happen soon. Nish.
Yeah, usually happens in August. So that, yeah, like you said, normally involves selecting election officers, who will set up the timeline and the documentation about how the election will work, setting up Electo and requesting candidates, all of the information that they need for candidates and the timelines that they need that information on. So, yeah. Sorry about lawn care noise, if you all can hear that. So we should probably ask Josh about that. Thank you very much, Ludo, for looking into Electo, talking about the issues with test coverage on Electo has been a constant item in these meetings. So I'd love to see progress.
Well, happy to help.
Thanks. I'm so excited. So I have to go in 3 minutes. Is there anything else that folks want to talk about? Any questions?
Well, a minor thing about Electo is that it links a website, electo.io, on the GitHub project, and that links to a very funky, I think, Vietnamese seemingly betting website. It should be, yeah, or there's something wrong with my Wi-Fi router. It should be electo-io something something. You can try it for yourself. It forwards to Michael Kors outlet clearancehandbagsus.com. So yeah,
Wonderful.
if there's anyone who has the right to fix that, the devil's in the details.
Could you grab the link to the page that's wrong if you have it handy? We could
Like
do
where
a quick
you
fix on
end
that.
up, or
No, where
the
you said it was on a docs page in GitHub that you
no,
found the
it's like
electo.io.
you go to GitHub to the repo itself. You have the about software for the Electo online election system. And underneath that is the electo.io link. So that's probably a setting
Huh.
in the repo itself. You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
I don't know how that happens, when that happens.
Have you let Josh know about this?
No, because it was like such a weird thing to remark after being here for a couple of days that I thought I would bring it up at a later point. Should I Slack him about this?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay,
If
I
anyone
will.
knows how to change that, it'll be him.
I'll reach out to him.
Sounds good. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And my next meeting is starting. So if there's anything else, Mario might be able to continue the meeting, or if not, we might end it. So any other discussion items? All right. Thank you all for joining today. Wonderful to have you all. So these meetings, there's a meeting every other week, but they alternate time zones. So every month, I suppose, for this meeting. And then in 2 weeks, there will be one at a more APAC EMEA friendly time. And if you want to interact with SIG ContribEx more, we have comms meetings every Friday. We would be happy to have you there. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out on Slack. Always happy to help. Thanks for coming today, and I'll stop the recording. Bye, YouTube.
Bye.